Today we'll be talking about the controversial topic of genetically modified organisms. My goal is to inform you of how genetically modified foods should not be consumed and how harmful they are to not only the body, but to also the environment. If that is indeed true, the harmful chemicals that you are putting into your body are turning your body into something that it was never intended to be. It is necessary to realize the truth about something that we are often so lied to about. After extensive research of this topic, I decided for myself that I should not destroy my body by consuming GMOs, and I urge you to do the same. They are harmful, and there are facts to back this argument up. By ingesting foods that have been genetically modified, you are putting chemicals inside of your body, which is essentially doing harm. I will start off by giving some background on what genetically modified organisms are and where they came from. According to the Institute of Responsible Technology, GMOs are made by taking genes from one species' DNA and artificially inserting them into the genes of another animal or plant. GMOs are used in crops so they can survive herbicide treatment, produce their own pesticides, and resist diseases. This process was first introduced in the mid-1990s. There has been an obvious change in overall health since they were brought about. In the U.S., GMOs are in as much as 80% of conventional processed foods. Everything from corn chips to salad dressing has genetically modified organisms. 93% of soybeans in production are herbicide tolerant, and 90% of corn acreage is genetically engineered. People do not realize how prevalent both of these products are in the majority of the foods that we eat. The 2007 award-winning documentary King Corn is an eye-opening look into how corn is in everything. The corn is produced and pumped up with herbicides and chemicals, and then it is put into the food that we eat and even fed to the animals that we consume. They can find traces of corn in your DNA by testing a strand of hair. It is that prevalent. Many studies that have come out about GMOs have been deemed as inconclusive. One of the main reasons for this is because the 6 companies who control 70% of the world pesticide market and almost the entire genetically modified seed market conduct these studies. Obviously, the evidence that they provide is going to be biased and one-sided. Monsanto is one of the largest companies that is involved in the GMO dispute. According to their website, they are a publicly traded American multinational agrochemical and agricultural biotechnology corporation. There's been a lot in the news about this company recently. Their most recent negative publicity has been from the French minister who has publicly asked stores to stop selling Monsanto's product, Roundup, which is a very known pesticide weed killer. There's been a lot in the news about this company. Their most recent negative publicity has been from the French minister who has publicly asked stores to stop selling Monsanto product Roundup, which is a very well-known pesticide weed killer. The International Agency for Research on Cancer, part of the World Health Organization, said in March that glyphosate, the key ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup, was probably carcinogenic to humans. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine has encouraged doctors to prescribe non-GMO diets for patients. Their reasoning for this is animal studies that show significant damage internally. They cite organ damage, gastrointestinal and immune system disorders, accelerated aging, and infertility as the main symptoms from consumption. In human studies, they have shown how genetically modified food leaves material behind in us which can ultimately lead to causing long-term problems. Genes inserted into genetically modified soy, for example, can transfer into the DNA of bacteria living inside of us. Recently, scientists found the genetically engineered insecticide that is in the corn in the umbilical cords of pregnant women. Since the introduction of GMOs in 1996, the percentage of Americans with 3 or more chronic illnesses jumped from 7% to 13% in just 9 years. Things such as food allergies, reproductive disorders, digestive problems, and many other complications went through the roof. The American Public Health Association and American Nurses Association are among many medical groups that do not approve of the use of genetically modified bovine growth hormone because the milk from treated cows has more of the hormone IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, which is linked to cancer. Some food establishments, such as Chipotle, have vowed to stop serving genetically modified food products. In 2013, Chipotle released a campaign called The Scarecrow to open the eyes of everyone about what truly happens in the food industry. The video starts by showing a gloomy, polluted world pretty much run by robots. This is showing that this is what our world is turning into if we are not careful. It has significant effects on the environment, and the world will eventually turn into a barren land if we are not careful. By the use of GMOs, the food industry is turning to factories to produce their goods. According to the New York Times, MSNBC, and the Washington Post, anywhere from 93 to 96% of Americans wish to have their food labeled. Over 40 countries have mandatory labeling laws of GMOs. The United States is not one of those places. According to a report from the National Research Council, it concluded that the product of genetic modification and selection constitutes the primary basis for decisions and not the process by which the product was obtained, and this becomes the basis for regulatory American policy. Becoming aware of this situation is key to making a change. The necessity to label food that contains GMOs is the first step in the battle against the food giants, but it is possible to make a difference even if it is just for yourself. In conclusion, genetically modified organisms are in everything. The biased studies are inconclusive, and labeling the food is a necessity. I hope that you are now more aware of the presence of GMOs and you will eat clean.